least able to afford it. The governor highlighted a lot of programs that the Democrats care about, but he neglected to say how we plan to pay for it. The governor spoke of government accountability, and he's right. Missourians deserve and demand accountability when the government makes mistakes that will cost us tens of thousands of dollars, that will cause tens of thousands of Missourians to discover their unexpected tax bills that many will not be able to afford. The governor did not mention at all the withholding error that we are hopefully becoming more aware of and folks are actually understanding is happening. We hope to see some accountability for these mistakes, and if he truly means that every tax dollar should be a priority, we hope he starts with DOR and the mistakes that they've admitted fault to. With these budget uncertainties and moving into another troubling budget year, with all these unknowns and not knowing how we plan to pay for these new programs, I want to turn it over to Representative Kip Kendrick, who is our budget ranking member, to discuss some of those.
Thank you, Minority Leader Quaid. And I mean, where do we start, right? I think a back of the napkin calculation of numbers he was throwing out was about 170 plus million in spending. You know, if you consider that they expect to grow general revenue by $198 million, you got to kind of wonder who's getting cut. Now let's also talk about that assumption that we're going to grow 2% on top of 1.7% this year. I'm becoming less confident every day that that's going to happen. If you look at year-to-date revenue, we're down 8.76% as of today. That is tremendous. Now I understand the middle-class surprise tax bills that are going to be arriving in likely hundreds of thousands of Missourians' mailbox. That's going to probably balance out some of it. But I challenge you reporters and everyone in Missouri to find someone who can tell you what's going on with House Bill 2540. If you look at the fiscal note, the analysis is troubling at best. I fully expect that we see very little, if at any, growth this year, in a year with 3% unemployment, modest wage gains, and seeing state coffers all around us growing fairly substantially. We still haven't seen any withholds. So, you know, if we grow it, if we basically shrink this year by about 0.5%, we can balance it based off the surplus that we had from FY18. That's one-time funding, folks. That's one time. I don't want to sound the alarm bells, but it's probably about time we start doing it. We have 2 tax cuts that will continue to be implemented over the next few years. We have tax cut after tax cut after tax cuts that's been layered on top of the state. We're not the federal government. You can't pass a tax cut, blow up the deficit, and just print money. We can't do that. These tax cuts are real. They're going to have very real consequences. And it may not be overnight. It may not be necessarily in FY19 that we have to see withholds. Maybe we can bleed through the FY18 surplus. FY20 is going to be a different story, especially if we're projecting a budget that at 2% growth on top of the 1.7 that they're projecting for FY19. FY21, FY22, going to be some really tough years. Just hope we don't see an economic downturn during this time. We don't have the funds. We don't have the reserve funds to be able to balance it. These are real priorities that are going to be hit hard. Missouri, I keep hearing, you know, everybody say that at least we're not Illinois. You know what? Illinois doesn't necessarily have a revenue problem. They have a budgeting problem. They don't know when to say no. They're not disciplined. We in Missouri are disciplined. Republicans and Democrats on the budgeting committee were disciplined. We will produce a balanced budget that we think that our revenues are going to grow by. But we have a revenue problem in this state, and it's very real. And budgeting is going to become that much more difficult. Thank you.
With that, we're ready for questions. You know, to be very honest with you, I haven't seen the specifics of the proposal itself. I know that the Democrats are very much in favor of making infrastructure a priority. Investing in Missouri is something we've been talking about for a very long time, and we're very much in favor of that. So I look forward to really reviewing it.
Can you clarify for us about fully funding education, this pamphlet that they gave us?
I don't know what pamphlet they gave you.
It says that there's 61.4 million more going toward the foundation formula next fiscal year, and they say that that's fully funding it.
I haven't seen it.
I just
Yeah.
want to make sure everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
Then that 170 number just went up to over 230, I guess.
The governor's executive budget projects, with the growth that that in the consensus revenue, projects an ending balance this year of $516 million on June 30th, and an ending balance on June 30th of 2020 of $116 million. So the budget for the coming year spends $400 million in addition to the growth. And I'm just curious if you think that that is a realistic way to budget.
I don't think the FY19 projection of ending at 1.7% is accurate at all. I'm not saying we're going to be down near the 8.76% we're down now. I really do think those middle class surprise tax bills are going to come in. They're going to, increase, or they're going to lessen the deficit that we're running right now. I just can't imagine, especially when you're projecting again the 2% growth off the 1.7%. We're not going to hit that 1.7%, so all of a sudden that 2% jumps up to what, 3, 4, 5% maybe. On top of, we just dropped the individual income tax from 5.9 to 5.4 on January 1, and we're trusting the Department of Revenue to give us an accurate reflection in House Bill 2540. Again, look at House Bill 2540 fiscal note. I think you'll have the same questions I do.
So how can you all reconcile your call for adding money to higher education, which you did, Representative Wade, and the idea that the money that they're projecting as available is not likely to be there? Where do you make the other changes to get to where you want?
Definitely. And, we often say the budget should be looked at as a moral document. And the House Democrats believe that. When we're talking about investing in Missouri, we need to be investing in our people, and education is one of those things. We celebrate that the governor is talking about workforce development, and that's going to be a priority. But for us, workforce development includes education, and you can't do that without putting money in that way.
Leader Quaid, I have a question for you and for with Ellington together, and that is the Crossroads Correctional Center in Cameron. It's a huge deal. A, your reaction to this idea of consolidating, and B, the last time I talked to you, Representative Ellington, you called for a legislative hearing inside the prison so inmates could testify. Do you still want that in Washington?
Well, I actually had that meeting with the inmates. It was over 3 hours and something long. I'm not sure who stood up first, me or Representative Bruce Franks, but I think we had the same sentiment when we heard about the consolidation of the Crossroads facility, and I'm extremely elated that the governor is actually paying attention to it. Since I've been here, we've had Democrat and Republican governors that show little to no concern about it, and I'm actually, again, elated that we have a governor that's making it his top priority right now, because for those that don't know, the Crossroads facility has been allowed to fester in all type of federal violations, from legal mail, being locked down, et cetera. So I think the consolidation is a good thing, but I do need to see his plan on it.
And I will echo that with, the Democrats are very excited that the governor and the Republican majority are talking about criminal justice reform and making this conversation a priority. We've been fighting for these issues for a very long time and trying to bring them to the public spotlight for a very long time. So we're very excited about it. And as Representative Ellington said, we look forward to seeing what the plans are so that we can get as much done as possible this year. Any other questions?
Governor's budget talks about eliminating nearly 700 positions in the Department of Economic Development. When it was described by the cabinet officials, they say, well, we've got this much larger department, and it's getting worse results than other states because we're not competitive. Have you looked at this, and is this the right direction to go in cutting?
So I think that it's going to include somewhat of a merging of Department of Higher Education and Department of Economic Development. There's going to be a lot of the DED budget moved over to higher education. I haven't seen the specifics of it yet. I don't want to necessarily speak out against the potential merger, because it does make a lot of sense, especially with community colleges. You have, more focus on workforce development. until we see the specifics of it, it's hard to know if this will be a good plan or not, but I want to keep an open mind.
Is there a constitutional cap on the number of employees in the Department of Higher Education?
Don't know. It sounds like you do, though.
And these portions of it are capped at 25 employees.
Okay.
Plan. I have not received any, Representative, have you?
No, I haven't, other than I believe what was sent out, got a text message to me saying about $380 million, $381 million bonding project. I think that we probably will have to look to see if that needs to go to the vote of the people, a bonding project that large.
But are you comfortable with not having it put on the ballot before the Missouri voters? A third of $1 billion debt?
I think that, I mean, a lot of questions remain on, what are the rates? I mean, interest rates have clearly gone up. I think, a lot of Democrats and Republicans too have been talking about bonding for a while. We probably didn't do enough of it when rates were lower and more competitive. So I don't know where rates stand today. I mean, it's possible that this is a proposal. I think that that we need to be looking for bipartisan solutions on infrastructure, on transportation infrastructure. So I definitely wouldn't rule it out of a possibility.
That $351 million bond program is supposed to be repaid from general revenue, much like the bond program that the governor sponsored when he was senator for repair and maintenance on college campuses and in state facilities. Will you be pushing to add any higher education programs or other state facilities to if there's a movement on a general bond project program?
Yeah, no, I like that idea. Thank you.
How specifically do you expect the governor's administration to address the withholding error? You mentioned that they needed to be held accountable. How specifically?
Well, to be very, the first and foremost thing is we need answers. We have sent formal requests from my office of how many folks are impacted, what numbers we're looking at here, and we have yet to get any answers on that. And we have used various avenues from reaching out to members of the administration and going through the liaisons here, and et cetera. And so, step one is just accountability, is letting us know what happened and letting our constituents know what we should be expecting. In terms of after that, as Representative Kendrick was referring to earlier, we've had lots of issues around fiscal notes and knowing what these policies that we're passing are doing to the state of Missouri. And we could rattle off, I'm sure, between all of us here, several hundred fiscal notes that we know have been wrong since the passage of legislation. And so when it comes to accountability of DOR, especially with this issue, is making sure that we're getting the accurate information as we're making decisions as legislators so that everyone in the chamber knows what's going to happen. And then, of course, being accountable to answering our questions of what's happening with the tax code.
Is there a concern about steering $30 million from general revenue to pay off the bonds, meaning that it's $30 million that won't be funded for other programs?
Definitely.
And also the fact that it's effectively amounts to deficit spending. So I'd like
Definitely.
to address that.
Yeah, definitely. To kind of echo with that, we're talking about a lot of millions of dollars shuffling around for all sorts of things that the governor has addressed he wanted to pay for, but the bonding especially. When we're looking at this withholding issue, cash flow is a concern. So we don't know how many folks are going to get hit with this surprise tax bill, and we don't know if they're going to pay it. I mean, to be very honest with you, if you're a middle-class working family expecting to get money back, and then you get a bill, are they going to be able to pay that couple $100 right then and there? Probably not. And so when we're talking about, cash flow, that is a huge concern for us. And then you add the bonding to that conversation, yeah. Okay, thank you all so much. Appreciate it.